Hello, all you positive heads out there. It's so good to be back with all you beautiful reflections of the one source consciousness that creates and animates all things. If you're new to this podcast, of course, we're super happy to have you here. And if you've been listening and enjoying for a while, I would be super grateful if you would please take a moment to give us a review on Apple Podcasts. It's one of the best and simplest ways to pay it forward and help others find the show so that they too can tap into the powerful perspectives and positive vibrations we are collectively emanating. The other unique and magical way to share this show is by sending any friends you think would benefit from listening to this podcast our Game with the Universe link at positivehead.com/game. Also listed in the show notes, which will serve them up a quote-unquote random episode when they click it. Just instruct them before clicking the link to close their eyes for a moment and sincerely ask the universe to cue up the episode that contains the insight and perspectives that they most need to hear at this point in their life journey, and then click to listen to whatever episode is synchronistically served up to them. I have heard time and time again from people about the incredible results they received playing the game. So just tell your friends magical results are guaranteed or their karma back. All right, all you positive heads, welcome, welcome. It is a magical Monday here in the studio as I record. Hope you are floating along just fine whenever, wherever you are receiving this transmission, this love transmission. I am happy to be here. And we're going to talk about stepping off the edge, allowing the net to appear. The idea that it's never as scary as it looks. And getting off the sidelines and getting in the game, right? Before I dive deep into that subject matter, I would like to take a moment to read a review by L Boogie. L Boogie 116 to be exact. Found this on iTunes. You guys know I love my iTunes reviews. Not only do they help us to reach new people, but they certainly help to fuel my fire to continue this labor of love when I get wonderful feedback from all of you. And yeah, of course, iTunes is the holy grail of all things podcasting. So there's other places you can review too. And anywhere you review, even just saying... sending out a transmission vibrationally without writing anything down is felt, received, and appreciated. So, and L Boogie wrote, "From one grateful soul, good morning." Hey, how did he know? How did she know? How did they know it was morning as I read this? I just want to say, Brandon, this podcast is life-changing, and I am beyond grateful for it. I start every morning with some meditation, journaling, and then tuning into the best podcast in the whole wide world. I stumbled upon Positive Head in the very beginning of my journey through synchronicity, which was pretty awesome. Mentally, this podcast has helped me so much because in the beginning of my journey, I wasn't sure what was going on and would sometimes question my sanity, realizing I can connect with spirit out of the blue, and putting all the pieces of the puzzle together from past events in my life can totally have anyone's mind blown. LOL. But thanks to Positive Head, I didn't feel alone, and this podcast keeps me grounded. I can't tell you how many times I've cried tears of joy, laughed, smiled listening to you guys. And for this, I am so, so grateful, Brandon. Thank you for being you. You are appreciated. Oh, thank you, L Boogie, for boogieing along and sending out that love broadcast from your heart to mine. It means the world to me. So appreciate it. So with that being done and said, let's jump into today's topic a little bit further, shall we? This idea that it's never as scary as it looks. This was originally inspired by a P-head friend of mine, Kendra, who made a post online, and I just loved it, from the book Pilgrim at Tinker Creek by Annie Dillard. And this is just a little snippet from that book. And I'll just go ahead and read it here. There is always an enormous temptation in all of life to diddle around, making itsy-bitsy friends and meals and journeys for itsy-bitsy years on end. It is so self-conscious, so apparently moral, simply to step aside from the gaps where the creaks and wind pours down, saying, I never merited this grace, quite rightly, and then to sulk along the rest of your days on the edge of rage. I won't have it. The world is wilder than that in all directions, more dangerous and bitter, more extravagant and bright. Go up into the gaps. If you can find them, they shift and vanish too. Stalk the gaps, squeak into a gap in the soil, turn and unlock, more than a maple, a universe. This is how you spend this afternoon and tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon. Spend the afternoon. You can't take it with you. This instantly gave me chills reading it. It's such a beautiful, poetic expression. This idea that you are just a flower blooming for a moment in eternity on this planet. I mean, when you think to the age of the cosmos alone, what I think like 13 billion years, something like that, they think. This planet, 4 billion years. Your life is like a blink. It's just a moment. And playing it safe on the sidelines is just not where it's at. And I talk about this a lot. And of course, I'll continue to talk about it a lot because, you know, and I've been even talking about it lately with my own very, very, very comfortable life and my very comfortable house and my comfortable podcast. And I'm just like throwing it all into an upheaval to do this new show, Optimistic, that you have heard me talking about. And that continues to be, by the way, pushed back. My release date is, the devil's always in the details, basically. And so it was just about to release everything to you guys last week. And then there was a question about the start date, the first film date that arose. So we're still in a little bit of a holding pattern. But that's not the point. Other than I wanted to give you that update, so I'm glad it came up. But the point is I'm stepping out of my comfort zone. I'm taking on huge expense, not knowing 100% where it all comes from, having an idea, but trusting and having faith in the universe. I'm disrupting the comfort of my living situation and creating a communal space where you guys are going to get to come and experience it. And by the way, for any of you who haven't heard me talk about this at all and you're interested, I'm going to be having retreat space in Venice where I'm shooting a new show that you get to be a part of. And if you want to hear more details when it officially releases, just email me, Brandon@positivehead.com. to say you're interested in more details on the Mystic Manor retreats and being on the new show Optimistic. And let me just throw that out there. But yeah, that's what's happening in my life right now, doing that very thing, stretching myself, stretching my growth edge. And a lot of times I had a conversation with a friend a few days ago. We were talking about this, and he was talking about being around. He works with a lot of he's starting to work with a lot of celebrities and things like that. And he was talking about being nervous at first, and and this idea of like noticing his energy and feeling kind of starstruck and things like that. And what we talked about is like, look, you're stretching yourself. You're stretching into new vibrational resonance with new people who, are on sort of maybe on a different vibrational playing field than you've been on previously, but you're going to acclimate. Just like anything, you ultimately acclimate. A year or 2 years from now, it'll probably be like a old hat. It doesn't feel the same uncomfortableness. And a lot of times we run from the uncomfortableness. We run to the hills like, I'm staying here on the sidelines. I'm not going to, this author, Annie Dillard, said here, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to, go into the gaps and seek like the places that really make me stretch myself. I'm not looking to expand, more than the maple. I want to I'm content with keeping it itsy bitsy and keeping small talk and safe on the side of the field. That's not what you came here for. You guys have heard me tell the story multiple times about the person who I met just very briefly, and she's talking about her near-death experience and how when she was on the other side, the first thing she was was hearing was, oh, well, welcome back. Aren't you glad you did everything you wanted, right? You took all the risks, right? Like very sarcastically kind of prodding, like, right? You did it all. You went for it. And of course, she hadn't. And luckily, she got the opportunity to come back under miraculous, means and get to, continue her life. But you don't want to get to the other side and hear that voice and think, oh, I played it safe, only to find out like I couldn't be unsafe. Ultimately, I am an eternal being that's always been and always will be. And here I put myself in this circumstance where I could have the experience of stretching myself, and I let fear win the day. That's not what we came here to do. Life begins at the end of your comfort zone. As Neil Donald Walsh said, he said, life begins at the end of your comfort zone. So if you're feeling uncomfortable right now, know that the change taking place in your life is a beginning, not an ending. The Roosevelts knew what was up. They both, Eleanor Roosevelt, you've heard me often quote, do one thing every day that scares you. Theodore Roosevelt, a lot of people get concerned about, well, what if I fail? What if I, take the chance and then everyone laughs at me and they see I didn't make it? And it's like Theodore Roosevelt knew it too. I mean, both of them, what a cool couple, right? He said, it's not the critic that counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who come short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds? Who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions? Who spends himself in a worthy cause? Who, at the best, knows in the end the triumph of high achievement? And who, at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. Wow. That's a powerful one. My son Bradley put that on the side of our refrigerator like years ago, and it stayed there. It's so good. It's not the critic who counts. Get in the arena. Get in there. I know there's a lot of you out there who've gotten comfortable and complacent, fat and happy, or fat and maybe not so happy, fat and complacent. Just sort of floating along, somewhat comfortable, but not feeling the enthusiasm of life that you deserve. Hunter S. Thompson said, life should not be a journey to the grave with the intention of arriving safely in a pretty and well-preserved body, but rather to skid in broadside in a cloud of smoke, thoroughly used up, totally worn out, and loudly proclaiming, wow, what a ride. I love that one. That's so good. Life begins at the end of your comfort zone, people. Take those risks. Put yourself on the edge and know you only fail, you only lose when you quit. You only fail when you don't try. If you don't, you can't. Isn't that great to know? Like with what I'm about to do, let's say it fell completely on its face. Like no one wants to come to the retreats. I have this huge, massive, rent on this epic mansion that I can't afford because no one's coming. The show I recorded and no one wants to watch it. And it's just like all this expense to produce a TV show with no viewers. Imagine that scenario, right? Now, how will I feel if that were to happen? I don't believe that's what's going to happen, but if it should happen, you know how I'd feel? I'd be like, Brandon, you went for it. You did it. You tried. You stepped off the edge, trusting that a net would appear. And if it didn't appear in the way I expected, in the form of radical success with that, I would have deep trust knowing that actually was leading me to something else. Maybe I just needed to get out of my comfort zone here in this very comfortable place in Orange County and get up to LA so that could fail, which now I'm failing in a different location, which I met someone else through that failure that then led to something else that led to something else. That's exactly where I'm meant to be, right? And that's the way you have to look at it. Like, be willing to take the ride. Buy the ticket, take the ride. You bought the ticket, you came here, you went through a lot to get here. Like, this is, just think of, I often think of this idea that we spend 20 years as children are what our brains fully developed at 25, right? So a lot of, even think of the first years for the soul. I think of that often. You're in the baby, You are a soul that just came from the other side. Perhaps you have full vivid awareness. Perhaps you don't. Either way has its own sort of torment, I guess you could say. Like you're stuck in this baby body that doesn't work at all. You just like crap yourself and cry and sleep, and you're like probably, so if you are aware, you're probably like, oh my gosh, I'm like in a prison of sorts, right? So I imagine there's probably some level of remembrance when you first come in, and some bit of amnesia for sure. And I'd imagine the amnesia, of course, well, we know it increases over time, right? So, so at least not knowing, even if it's like, okay, you have no memory of the other side when you first come in, and your brain is so primitive and simple in a sense, like, it's just fully developmental and there's no major level of awareness. Just to go through that and to cut yourself off from all the knowledge and wisdom and understanding that you'd acquired previous to incarnating in 3D, like that's what you went through to come here. And then you went through it, and finally over years, a year plus has passed. Now I can kind of walk a little, sort of, and fall and hit my head all the time. But okay, now I can kind of talk a few years in, sort of, but I have no power. So, I'm at the whim of this person who I came through. I don't really know. I mean, they just supply things for me. Like you're totally disempowered, right? In a lot of ways. So, you finally get up to adulthood and having some level of freedom and power to make decisions for yourself. And then you find something really, really safe and play it really, really safe and sort of just cruise. Like, no. And it's okay if you have. We've all done it. Like, I'm certainly done plenty of. I love comfort, right? I'm so into creature comfort. I mean, if you come to my place, well, you guys are at the Mystic Manor, you'll see lots of cushiness, lots of like coziness. Like, I love warm, cozy, cuddly, like, the more comfort, the better, right? But I am aware enough to know when to stretch myself and when to step out on a ledge. And I've taken chances many times and fell flat on my face. And, the Chinese proverb, fall down 7 times, get up 8. And that is something that I've been good about doing. And that's led me to any bit of success, magic in my life that has been. And if you've been playing it safe on the sidelines, that's okay. Every moment's another chance to turn it all around. You're literally an eternal being floating in eternity. You have unlimited time ahead of you. You're always going to be, you're never too. So if you're 70 and hearing this, like, okay, great. Guess how much time your consciousness has in front of it to create itself in a new way and experience life in a new way. Eternity. So you don't, this whole idea, it's too late for me. Nah, I'm just going to resign and watch other people make magic and live out their dreams. That's just nonsense. Okay. So I'm going to play a little clip here. This is actually from a TED Talk, TEDx Stanford. I found it on the TEDx Talks YouTube page. I'm probably going to butcher this a little bit, but Yubing Zhang is the person talking here. She shares her perspectives on life beginning at the end of your comfort zone, as this talk is called. Pretty short clip, really, really good. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Take a listen.
It's a cold and foggy winter morning, and I'm standing on the world's tallest bungee platform. The platform I'm standing on is so tiny that I have to stand on my toes and balance myself against the wind. The operator ties one end of the bungee cord to my ankle and throws the slack in the air. I can feel the weight of the rope on my ankles slowly dragging me down. I look down. All the buildings and roads are buried in heavy fog. There is only one voice in my head. I can't do this. So I turn around and tell them that I want to quit. And then I see a huge quote printed on the glass window right next to me. Life begins at the edge of your comfort zone. I don't know why, but this short yet powerful sentence gives me the final push, and before I realize it, I walk straight back to the platform and jump off the world's highest bungee platform. During the 5 seconds of free fall, I remember thinking to myself, it it's not as scary as it looks. And that thought led to a whole new world. Every time I hear the voice of fear in my head, I can't leave this job because I'm not going to find anything better. I'm scared of entering a new relationship because I don't want to be hurt again. And even a minute ago, before I walked onto the stage, the voice was repeating in my head. Every time I hear that voice, I take a deep breath and tell myself it's never as scary as it looks. Let me take you back to the summer of 2007. A remote village in Cambodia, a small room in a domestic violence victim center. It's my first day of work. I walked into the room and was introduced to an 18-year-old girl. Her name was Chia. Chia was so emotionally and physically abused that she was trembling all the time and she couldn't even look at me in the eyes. And on her face, I saw fear, anxiety, and shame. And that day, Chia refused to take our help and went back to her husband. And in the course of the next few months, she would do that again and again, only come back with more bruises and cuts. Chia knew that she should leave her husband, but she was scared to because she had been married to him since 14, depended on him for survival, and did not know that she could live a life on her own. To help Chia, and thousands of other girls like Chia, I started a vocational skill training program. After 3 months of training, magic happened. Chia regained confidence and dignity, stepped out of the fear of failure, found a new job in a local hotel, and separated with her husband. She started a new chapter of life at the edge of her comfort zone. Chia might be an extreme example, but I can see myself in her, and maybe you can too. What is it that you're not doing because of fear of failure? Finding a new job, starting a new company, or asking someone out for a date? For me, it was the fear of public speaking. Whatever it is, I encourage you to try it because as Chia found, and I found, and I think you will find too, it's never as scary as it looks. And you're stronger and more capable than you thought. The second story is about embracing uncertainty. My friend Zhang lives an extremely comfortable life in Hong Kong. He works from 9 to 5 and receives a very good pay. But he's dispassionate about his job and life, and he's constantly complaining. He has lived his whole life with certainty that the fear of losing what he had is stopping him from pursuing his passion. Until one morning, I got a call from him. Hi, Yubin. I went to a positive psychology class last quarter. Got so inspired, I quit my job today and I'm moving to Australia. You what? What are you going to do with your life? I asked. He said, this is the first time in life that I don't have a plan, and I feel every bit as scared as I'm excited. The next time I saw him was 6 months later. He just got back from Australia, a licensed hypnotherapist. From a trader to a hypnotherapist. I was shocked when I saw him again. His face was pink, eyes glittering, his whole body was just glowing. He is living his dream right now, traveling around the world, giving workshops and therapy sessions for thousands of people to find happiness in life. And as with Chia, I could see myself in Zhang, and maybe you can too. We're all scared of uncertainty. Giving up all you have to pursue a dream that may or may not work out. Loving someone with whole heart without guarantee. It's incredibly hard, but as John found and I found, and I think you will find too, it's never as scary as it looks. And it leads to more possibilities and happiness in life. The last story is about vulnerability, and the last story is about me. My love for my parents is the strongest emotion in my life. But in Asian culture, love is seldom expressed in words. It makes me feel extremely uncomfortable to tell them I love you or to even share my feelings with them. Our daily conversation is a combination of what I had for lunch and what they had for dinner. The word courage came from Latin root cur, which means heart. And the original meaning of courage is to tell the story of who you are with your whole heart. I don't know why I have the courage to stand here today and share my story with you, but I don't have the courage to tell my parents, I love you. They raised me with love, so much love. They made me believe I'm worthy of love, not because of what I achieve, but because of who I am. Yet I so desperately want to be this perfect child for them. I share my happiness and achievements and withhold my struggles and failures. And as I'm proud of my achievements, I didn't know that this created a huge emotional gap between us, and we no longer share the joy and pain of each other's life journey. I've been experiencing a tough time recently. A heartbroken ending of a 3-year relationship, many questions about friendship, and deep insecurity about future. A couple of weeks ago, I came back from an exhausting recruiting trip from New York. The moment I walked in my room in darkness, I experienced an emotional breakdown. I called my mom and burst into tears the moment I heard her voice. And for the next hour, and the first time in my life, I shared my struggles with her. And even though she hasn't been with me in this journey for so long, she understands exactly what I've been going through. The feeling of reconnection after so many years is like magic. In the end, I told her I love you. And she said, I love you too. It's the first time, remember, either of us has said that. I didn't expect what felt so uncomfortable previously came so natural and peacefully in the end. I see life as a constant fight against your comfort zone. You push it, it pushes back. What's the fear that's holding you back? What are you not saying or doing because it's outside your comfort zone? I challenge you to find that comfort zone today. Bravely step out of it. And as you get comfortable again, push it even further. Don't try to get rid of fear. Accept that you will be afraid, and then go do it anyway. As the word said, high on the bungee platform, life begins at the edge of your comfort zone. Thank you.
Before we continue on with today's episode, for those of you interested in getting more fantastic fungi in your life, I want to take a quick moment to tell you about a friend of mine's brand new company, The Great Mother. Recently, I have been drinking The Great Mother's superfood mushroom coffee alternative called Ritual, as well as regularly taking their awesome Ally microdoses, and I am truly loving both. As you probably know, these days, many of the world's highest achievers and performers swear by microdosing. The problem is it can still be difficult to get a hold of magic mushrooms. That's why when my friend reached out, who lives in an area and country where legalization is not a problem like it was in the past, and said he'd be willing to offer microdoses to my listeners, I wanted to pass the word along. Ally microdoses are 100% organic. And in addition to a small amount of the magic active ingredient, they also contain functional mushrooms like lion's mane, cordyceps, chaga, and other brain boosters like bacopa. Ally is essentially a full spectrum nootropic. And of course, the coffee alternative Ritual doesn't contain magic mushrooms, but it has an array of the best organic functional mushrooms in the world. And, with functional mushrooms, it's really important to get them from the highest integrity sources. And whereas some other highly popular mushroom coffee alternatives on the market only contain a few varieties of functional mushrooms in their actual ingredients, Ritual has 7. Not only does it contain more types, it also contains 3 to 4 times the amount that the big brands have in each serving. And it tastes amazing. I actually like to have it on its own, as well as mixing it into my coffee sometimes as well. However, since this is definitely a unique offering, there are a few steps. First, just reach out and request to follow the private page, thegreat.mother on Instagram.
Once you've been accepted to follow, just message what you're interested in getting and someone will get back to you.
I love some of the things she shares in there. It's never as scary as it looks, right? It's just like doing your homework when you're a kid. It's never as bad doing the homework as it is like procrastinating about doing the homework. It's the same kind of thing, right? We all remember that. Some of you are probably still doing homework. Just do it. That procrastination, like thinking about it for 24 hours leading up to doing it or whatever, that's torture. Just do it and get it behind you. Accept that you'll be afraid and do it anyway, right? Know that. Like if it scares you and it excites you, you know it's for you. That's the combination. That's your growth edge. It's never going to be as scary as it looks. It's always like you get in it and then you're like, you're going to adapt. Just like my friend I was talking to. You're going to adapt. His energy is going to calm down. It's going to adjust to the higher vibration or different vibration of celebrity energy around him, right? It's going to acclimate. That's what we do. We stretch, acclimate, settle in, stretch, acclimate, settle in. That's like your eternal jam. That's like how you're going to roll for eternity. Stretch, acclimate, settle in, comfortable. Oh, stretch again, acclimate. And thank God for it, because you would get so bored eating bonbons for eternity. So with someone fanning you, eating grapes or bonbons. All right, I have a song to leave you guys with. I love this artist. This is probably my favorite new artist I found in the last 6 months. This artist, I am calling in the manifestation for a live set at the Mystic Manor. You guys know I'm going to have live music at the end, actually filming it and I want a lot of it to be like sort of very intimate, like unplugged style. So a lot of acoustic sort of music. Not that we won't have other elements of, music and electronic music and stuff like that, but especially initially, I think it's going to be a lot like kind of like Tiny Desk, if you guys have seen that. So this is an artist that I am setting the intention because, gosh, I love his music so much. And the artist is Rue Paynes. This song is called Open Road. Let me out of this cage before I swell up with rage. Let me sing to old age before I'm done. Let me shout to the skies that I'm too young to die and that fate will never stop me from trying. Love you all so, so much. Till next time, journey well.
Open road, non-stop to from trying to lose the love, to find your silver lining. You left my side, 'cause mother let you run and hide, and even from afar I hear you crying. Let me out of this cage before I swell up with rage. Let me sing to old age before I'm done. Let me shout to the skies that I'm too young to die, and that fate will never stop me from trying. Finally found the dream and lived those ties unbound. A quest for peace that a hopeless search for sweet release. You found your feet, but now they only run to meet a hope that's hanging loosely whilst you're crying. Let me out of this cage before I swell up with rage. Let me sing to old age before but I'm done. Let me shout to the skies that I'm too young to die, and that fate will never stop me from trying. Ha 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 ha. Open road, you will only lead back home, 'cause you stole a heart, but your heart is still alone. So just take your time, 'cause mother lets you run and hide, 'cause wisdom knows the eyes through which you cry.